Hi everybody, welcome back. We're now at our second DAW assignment. And hopefully this is really easy. Now with that, as you've been working on your first DAW assignment, you've got your first section. You've got your A section, your verse. If you'd like, feel free, use that same section if you want to. Now, of course, if you're not happy with that section, you can certainly find another 16 bars. But in this case, what we want to do is we want to look at that first section and create that A section, because in this particular assignment, we want to be able to create a second section, a B section, which we would call our chorus. And of course, there's no rules. If we decide that we like a certain loop, or if we decide that we like a certain beat, or whatever you pick, I'm not telling you which to pick, of course, but we just want to make sure that our tracks are labeled with lead, accompaniment, bass, and rhythm. So what you pick, and at least try to find these four. Everyone is going to be different. And I think that that's the beauty of this particular class and this assignment in general, of course. So obviously in this case too, making sure that you upload a screenshot, Command-Shift-4, that's how I'm going to be able to see what you've done and you can prove to me what you've worked with. And so just make sure that it kind of goes along with what I'm going to show you here in a minute. So as we've got here, making sure that we're looking for our lead, our accompaniment, bass, and our rhythm. Remember on the last track, I've got this guy set up, and I'm sure you remember that, right? So again, that's the, DAW assignment, the first assignment that we created. That's my first 4 tracks that I had set. I've got a couple little edits that I created here, just like what we had talked about in the last tutorial. But one of the things that we want to do now is we want to make sure that we're looking at creating a B section. Now, to have that B section come in, I would suggest maybe creating 4 more tracks here on the bottom. Now, if you decide that you want to drag in the rhythm part into that rhythm track, it's totally up to you. But make sure that when you create that screenshot that these are different than the others. So that's going to be very, very important, and really the only way that you can get these points. And so I think it's going to be best if we just create more tracks. It's pretty much unlimited anyway. So as we open this back up, again, I'm just kind of back to my deep house here, and I'll just, obviously, hopefully you guys will go through here and you'll be working with, all these different pieces. And as you can see, there's just a ton that we can work with. But as, we've got what we've got here, maybe potentially we can just, kind of put something together in front of you. Let me just try to find something that we've got here. So first thing is we want to try to find a nice little bass line, maybe a little percussion. Let me see what we've got here. Now for the sake of time, let's just say that we're going to use that, and we'll have that for our rhythm track. So now I'm just going to kind of audition just these, sections, little by little. As you can see there, that's going to be 4 bars or 4 measures, right? So as we roll through there, let's just see what we can do about finding a nice little bass stab here. Now note, it's an organ bass, but at the same time, we're looking for the frequencies. It doesn't necessarily matter if it's a bass or if it's an organ bass or if it's coming from a synth. The idea is that it's those frequencies. And so if we were to come back here and look at that EQ, and if I was just to analyze that, you'll see you've got a lot of low end going on within that bass. So I think that that's going to work great. And it's going to sound very, very different from the bass line that we picked up here, that bombastic line bass. So let's see what we got. Now, let's see what I can do about finding some accompaniment. I think I like that. So I'm going to pull that in for our accompaniment. And as you can see there, I can just drag that over just like what we've been talking about. And then making sure that you convert that. So again, Control L to convert the loop. Well, we're getting there. Now let's see what we can do about finding a nice little lead line. Maybe potentially something here. I think I like that. We've got ourselves a winner. Now think about the frequency balance that we've got happening. The lows are the lows, the percussion is the percussion, we've got our mid-range happening, and then of course what we've just done then is we've just placed our lead line over the top, and we've got, our highs happening within that frequency balance as well. We've got a great set. So now what I'm going to do is just make sure that we go back to everything that we've learned on the other side. Let's pan this off. So I'm going to take that one layer, make sure that that's not masking from my lead, and I'm going to pan the other lead off to one side. We can go through and we can mix this a little better, of course, right? Don't forget to hit Command 2 to get your mixer. Great, I think we like it. Now, remember going back to the rubber band, going and just clicking on the outside of your edit area and then selecting all of the clips that you've created. That should allow you to be able to copy and paste that section. And this is going to be one of the things that we're going to be doing in the final track that we call up here, and we'll call that one Song 1. Now in this case, yeah, we're just working in sections, but the next DAW project that we work with, that's going to be very important that you know how to copy and paste certain sections. And so one more time, just simply click, and we're just going to lasso everything or use the rubber band effect. And if you wanted to, you could hit Command C, and we're going to copy that. Another way that we could do that is then we could just simply hit Command R, and we're going to replicate each one of those. You see how quick that is? Now, in the case of the exercise, we want to get to 32 bars. And there we have it. So now if we've got ourselves set up, we are at our 32 bar set. And let me just put this up so we've got our looped. I've got our first section, the A section, which is the verse. I've got our second section, which is our chorus. And we've got that set, and we know that that's going to loop just great. So let's just check it out and audition it. Now, we got ourselves set, right? It looks like both of the sections are working. They contrast. We've got one section, doing one thing. The other section, sounds, obviously it has an equal power to it at the same token. One of the things we want to look at then is that as we've got everything happening here in a brick, let me just kind of drag these out so we've got everything like we've seen. I'll just do this again. We had some of those edits happening, remember, in the last one, right? I'll just drag them back so they're the whole clip that we had before. Now, if you look here, we're going to want to start building this. We want to create transitions. And so some of the suggestions that we make for you, you're definitely going to want to follow that. It's going to be a big one to prove to us that you understand, obviously, how to build things and how to, create dynamics, right? So in this case, then, let's try to add a new part every 4 measures. And so as we're adding a new part every 4 measures, maybe potentially then what I'm going to do then is let's just lose. And you see, having whole clips really helps us out. So I'm going to lose these 4. And I'm actually going to lose the synth lead, and I'm only going to keep the bass line. Let's start that way, and let's just build that way. And let's just keep adding something different every 4 bars. So now we've got our next 4 bars in this particular case. Now what I might do is just start stair-stepping that out, right? Listen to what we've got so far. Add something different. And we go to our chorus. But if you're noticing here, at this particular section, let's say 13 to say 17, we're going to want to do something, right? Because the dynamics of working into our chorus, it's not really ramping up. It doesn't really create, some type of an idea that we're going to be changing. And so we want to do something. We want to indicate that we're building something, that there's some type of transition happening. So let's try to change it. Let's see what we can do to change that. And so one of the things that I'm going to do is just a step backwards, where I'm going to lose the drums on one section, and then I'm going to highlight in. And remember going back to our marquee tool, right? Now what I could do is just, with my marquee tool, I could just lose certain hits of the drum. So what I'm going to do is just lose every other hit. Maybe see if I can't create a nice little effect that way. Just looking for dynamics, transitions, something a little bit different from what we had before. But remember, we're still, we're using the same building blocks. So again, just for review, I'm hitting Command, and I'm getting to that plus. You can see the marquee tool there. The marquee tool located in our toolbox. So as I highlight over that, I can get to that transient. And then I click to the top of the region, and it'll separate that region out. It'll split that region. And then I can simply delete that region. So now I might be able to make some really nice breaks. Let's see what we've got so far. You see how that builds in, and now the chorus goes to that next level. And see, before it really didn't have a dynamic break at this point, right? So let's go back to it again, and let's see what we can do about maybe potentially losing the bass at the beginning of that, so we can just create a little bit of a difference, right? So same thing, I'm using my marquee tool to lose certain things in certain sections to just create dynamics. And then let's do a similar thing on the last part. But let's lose a lot more on the last one, right? And then I'll do every other one. Now this loop is very custom to us, right? Let's hear what happens. I might even lose this last one here. So I think that the only thing that I may want to keep then are these last 2, and we'll just leave those alone, and that should be good to go. Maybe having this guy fade out a little bit sooner. So let's go back to our fade tool. Up on the top in our toolbox, I can fade. It's the same thing. I hit Command to get to my tool, drag over, and now I've just simply faded that out. A little trick for some of you, you may want to do the glitch effects. And so what you could do is I just hit Control click and I could fade that out, or I could slow that down. And what that might do is create, kind of a record sound, like you're glitching the record, or like you're doing kind of a scratch effect. I'll show you what that does here. So now we've got ourselves a nice transition from 13 to 17. And so as you can see in the notes, just make sure that you're indicating some type of a change here, right? Indicate you're moving 13 to 17, and then once you get to that B section, just let that B section run, and you'll be good to go. And that's all we're looking for so far. So let's go back, and I'm just going to practice that transition from 13 to 17 into the chorus. And back to our chorus. I think that's going to work great, right? So now that we've got everything set, again, just going back to our notes, 32 bars long. Now, the last thing that we want to do is make sure that we understand that this transition can be marked. And so what I'm going to do then is at 17, at this playhead, I want to call that a chorus. And as you can see there, navigate, and that's what I had up there for you. And hopefully as we were rolling there, as I was showing this to you a little bit earlier, I kind of just called it out, but at the same time I was just going to kind of point it out a little bit later. Now we can create a marker. Now we've got a hotkey to create the marker. You can just come here to navigate, and you can see it there too. So once that marker's been created, you see there marker 1, we can double click on that marker and we can change the name. We can do whatever we decide we want to do with that. But that marker now is going to, hopefully allow us to be able to see exactly where we're going. In this case, I'm just hitting Command, and then I'm clicking on that, and now I can just change this to say chorus, for example, right? Now we've got our chorus happening. Now we know exactly where we are in the dash. We could go back. Let's do the same thing. We could look at 1, go to that 1 playhead position, and do the same thing. We can navigate, create a marker, and the same idea, Command, click, double click, and we've got ourselves our verse. At least now we know where we're at. And again, organization. Now this of course doesn't create any audio quality or anything like that, but it does tell us where we're at. And in television and film, it's also very important to be able to create markers so you know where you're at within scenes. Now you can see here I've got my chorus section and my verse. Very, very easy. So again, just simply come up, put your playhead position where you want it, go to navigate, create a marker, and then if you want to, you can Command double click, and you can change the name or whatever you decide you want to do. So the other aspect, of course, is we've got our tracks clearly named. We've got our lead now as it's set. So let's just go back and let's make sure that we've got everything clearly named now in the 4 that we've just created. So now these are going to be our rhythm, right? We've got our bass. And to review, I'm just simply double clicking over the top, and then I'm able to change the name, of course. We've got our accompaniment and our lead. Now, maybe so that you could separate it out, of course, obviously when you've got the track in itself, you're good to go. But maybe if somebody doesn't necessarily have the edit side or something like that, just so you can spell it out, you could call this, your chorus or something like that, right? And that might make a lot of sense. So, very quickly. And there you have it. So let's audition what we've got. Again, going back to our notes, we had introduced a new part, or at least a new transition about every 4, and that started doing its thing, right? And now what I want to do now is to make sure that, as I've got here, maybe we could add something else. Like I might put, some accompaniment here right around at 4, right? And that's about the only thing that I would change potentially. So let's do that. Option, drag over, start this here, and let's just leave that set. Beautiful. Now we've got a change here, and we've got a change here. Next up on our chorus, we want to make sure that we are creating an indication that the chorus is happening. I feel like we've done a really good job as far as that's concerned. We've really changed up our edit, of course, starting from that full block on our first project, of course, right? On our verse. So now when we come to the chorus, we'll treat that like what we did on the first DAW project, where we're going to create just this simple brick. You've got 4 tracks. Those 4 tracks will play all the way through, and that will be the plateau of our chorus. So let's listen and see what we've got. And there we have it. So now essentially we've got everything that we've been looking for. You've got all the tracks as the tracks are set up. We've got everything set. So really all I need then is just give me a screenshot. You see how I can see everything as it's set. I just basically organized everything. I have it set so that it's zoomed in exactly where I can see it, and then I'll be able to deduce down the math. And then in this case now, let's just open it all up so we've got everything rolling, and I'll just try to get it as perfect as I can here. There we go. And this should be pretty good. Now, if you will, Apple Shift 4, Command Shift 4 real quick, and then just show me what you've done. And I'll be able to see that, of course. Now, as that goes, this is what you're going to be turning into me on Canvas. So just remember that you're going to go back to the DAW assignment and then simply submit this file to me, and we'll have everything we need. Now, most importantly, though, of course, we want to hear this back in the car. I'll just simply review that real quick. Just remember that we're going to start from 1 to bar 32, right? And once we've got that set, we're on our bar 32. We're going to bounce that. Let's bounce the region and bounce the project or section. And remembering, in this particular case, bouncing the region or bouncing the project or section, these are very, very different aspects. Remember, a region is only a track. Bouncing the project or section is the entire thing that we've got here. So what we're dealing with now, if we want to play this in the car, is we want to bounce that section. So as we've got this set, remember, pulse code modulated PCM, that's your high definition, the HD sound quality. So I would suggest Wave 24-bit 44.1 interleads. So this would be the setting if you want the high definition output. Everything will play perfectly in your car. You'll be able to burn CDs and everything will be great. Another one that we're looking at to save you, some processing, and to also save you storage space, MP3 or an MP4. So you've got everything set to 320. You can open that up as much as you want, and just make sure that you've got your settings set exactly what I've got here, and you're going to be good to go. Now you'll have either an MP3 or, of course, the full HD version. But obviously, as of right now, all we need is the screenshot. Now the next track that we turn in, the song 1, when we create a bridge and then we actually put this all together, that's when I'm going to want to hear all of this within an MP3 file. But as of right now, just simply take a screenshot and we should be good to go. So simple, 32 bars long. Your verse and chorus markers are clearly indicated like we've done up here, right? Located in Navigate. Tracks clearly labeled, lead, accompaniment, bass, and rhythm. And as you can see here, we've even went one step further and we put chorus on that as well, right? 16 bar A section. a new part added every 4 measures, right? We just kind of worked that out little by little, indicating that we're kind of building into something different at 13 to 17. And then the 16 bar section of our B section, or our chorus, is going to be dominant, or hopefully, more dominant than what we've done here, right? And hopefully make us feel like we've really gone somewhere and really created a transition. And hopefully all 4 parts are working together as they're playing all simultaneously. I do hope that helps, and I hope it helps bring your production to the next level. And most importantly, I hope that's a lot of fun. So please let me know if you have any questions. And again, just Command Shift 4, give me a screenshot of what we've just created. Thanks again, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.